morning, SB. So I figured today we would do a daily video update. So yesterday we entered into a swing long for Bitcoin, and that's based off of the idea that on a very high time frame we are ranging still. So theoretically, range lows should see mid-range and then range highs, right? And then if we want to resume the range from there, we absolutely may. We know that that is the case. We know that that's been the case. We just didn't really care that that was the case. We didn't really acknowledge the high time frame range too much because in the meantime, we were still capped below these 4-hour 200s, which dictated the intra-range trend, is how I'm going to see it. And we were capped within, this lower time frame range. So now, right, as of the past day or so, we've managed to break out above that low time frame range. We've also reclaimed the 4-hour 200s. We've tested mid-range, right? So theoretically, the range idea has played out to half of what it implies. And then we saw a rejection from our mid-range resistance. Is resistance that makes sense to see rejection from resistance. And here we are pulling back to test our 4-hour 200s and probably our range highs, right? Our previous range highs, somewhere around 19.6 as major support. Right? We would imagine that holding this zone, right, and this should be the sort of launch pad where we hold this region, come back into mid-range, and then fully, right, go through with what our range idea is saying altogether. And because we managed to reclaim a pretty significant trend, and we managed to expand away from this low time frame range, which we kind of continued to, chop throughout for about 2 weeks or so, you would imagine that expansion is on its way, right? So if expansion is on its way, which we're implying that it is because of all of these things, then the 4-hour 200 should hold as support, right? Along with that previous range high. If they don't, well, that kind of spells, hey, this time is no different than, that wick or this time or even this time, where we don't really care about the strength that we're showing. No one really gives a shit. The market's just going to continue doing whatever it's been doing, and that is just chopping sideways and, trading in this little tiny range and probably heading back to 18.6 for like the 9th or 10th time, in the past 3 or 4 months or so. So obviously that's not what we want to see. But if you are bullish right now, I would imagine that you're probably establishing a position somewhere in this like 2% zone, and betting on the higher time frame if that's the bet you want to take, which for me, it absolutely is. I'm taking the chart at face value for what it is, and I'm going to acknowledge that, hey, an uptrend is an uptrend, right? Market structure is market structure. A breakout of these 4-hour 200s is a breakout of these 4-hour 200s, and a breakout of this lower time frame range is a breakout of the lower time frame range. And the high time frame range is just simply high time frame ranging, right? So that's the way that I see it. I'll either be right or forced to adjust, but we will look to adjust as best as we can. We probably should look for some sort of low time frame trend to base our assumptions off of and give ourselves a little bit more conviction towards either direction, right? So that we're not just relying on something like the 4-hour 200s and, let's say a 4-hour candle close below 19.6, right? Because what happens when we close the candle below 19.6, but we close the candle all the way down here, right? So our invalidation would be something along the lines of in confluence, from lower time frames. We'd probably use something along the lines of these hourly 200s as confluence to all of that. So now we can say, hey, we have the 4-hour 200s somewhere over here. We have those previous range highs, and we have those hourly 200s that should all kind of act as, confluence and support, meaning if we lose all of those regions, right, if we start to break down below those hourly 200s, well, this probably isn't the breakout that we hoped it would be, right? It's probably a deviation. It's probably a fluke. It's probably a bull trap. It's probably a liquidity sweep, right? Whatever it is that you want to call it, you can absolutely attribute it thereafter, and it's probably going to stick, right? So that's it for today. I hope that sums it up pretty nicely and what to look for. Try and tune in to today's live stream. I'm going to be trying to scan the market for some uptrending alts and discussing some psychology and whatnot, as we always do. So yeah, much love. Hope you have a great morning and take it easy.